story time with Mama G. Come and hear a story with me. Love who you want to be, who you are. Learn these lessons and we'll go far. It's story time. Story time. Story time with Mama G. Hello, you gorgeous people. It's Mama G here. And thank you for joining me for another story time with Mama G. I hope you are all having an absolutely fantastic summer holiday so far. And what are you reading? Are you reading any good books? Let me know and we can share them with everyone. You can let me know on Facebook or Instagram. Just search for @MamaGStories. I would love to hear from you. Now, I have got some marvellous stories for you today, and I'm going to start with one of my very own. And it is called The Story of Stan. You know that I like writing stories, don't you? But did you know that sometimes I don't know what the story's going to be? I sit in front of my computer and have absolutely no idea what my imagination is going to do. Sometimes I sit there for hours just staring into space, no ideas whatsoever. Well, one day I started doodling. Yes, I started doodling a stick man. That's right, naturally, I'm very good at drawing stick men. Let me show you. I've got my Sharpie here. So what you do to draw a stick man is you start with the round head. There we go. Give him some eyes and a lovely smile. Now, that's not the stick part of the stick man, you see. Then you need to draw his body, give him some legs and some feet. Gorgeous. And, of course, some arms. There we go. Isn't that delightful? Now, I called this stick man Stan. Stan the stick man, or Stan the man with the plan. Because the moment that I started drawing Stan, my imagination went crazy. And I used him to create all sorts of wonderful characters and to go on lots of marvellous adventures. I turned him into Eunice, the horse who wants to become a unicorn. You probably remember her from the previous sessions. I turned him into a couple of feuding fairies. Fran, who's a fabulous fairy. Vera, who's a vile fairy. And Stan, well, he was both fairies. And I even turned him into Little Raw, the dinosaur who loves to wear hats. And across all of these adventures, Stan and I became friends. Well, we became best friends, really, we did. I used to get so excited to see him and dress him up and find out where that would take us. And I thought we were having a lovely time, but one day, suddenly, something changed. I had the idea to dress him up as a circus clown. So, I gave him some eyes, of course. You got to have eyes, otherwise he won't be able to see what's happening, will he? Gave him a couple of eyes, and I gave him a great big shiny red nose. There we go. And I drew on a lovely big smile. There we go. Because he was going to the circus after all. And the circus is always a great day out, isn't it? And Stan always has a lovely big smile for me. And when I was finished, I had a look and I thought, you know what, Mama G? You've done a pretty good job with that outfit. I think you deserve a chocolate digestive. So I went off to try and find my biscuits. Now, for the ease of this story, I've just put the biscuits over there. So I went to find my biscuits, but whilst I was gone, whilst I was looking for them, something happened to Stan's mouth. Can you see what's happened? Look at that. He's become a sad clown. His smile has turned upside down. Well, I thought, that's not the Stan I know. So I scrubbed out his frown and turned it into a smile. Now let me just scrub it out and draw it back. Lovely, there we go. Back into a smile. And I thought, well, that is a job well done, Mama G. Go and find your biscuits again. So, I went to find my biscuits, and whilst I was away, well, you will never guess what happened. Can you see what's happened? That's right. He's become a sad-faced clown again. Well, I just don't understand what's happening. So I scrubbed the frown out again and turned it back into a smile. Let me just do that now. Lovely. There we go. Well, after all, I'm not going to go to the circus with a sad-faced clown, am I? No. Now, I'm going to go and find those biscuits because I'm absolutely starving. But whilst I'm gone, will you let me know if you see him frown again? Will you? Will you do that for me? Thank you, my darlings. All you have to do is shout out if he's frowning. He's what? He never is. He's frowning again, is he? Is he? Oh, no, he's not. Look at that. There's a lovely smile on his face. What are you talking about? Look, I said, only shout out if you see him frowning. Never. He's frowning now? All right, Stan, I don't know what's got into you, but that... Oh, look, he's got a lovely little smile on his mouth. What are you talking about? Look, I've got to find these biscuits because I am absolutely starving. And only shout out if he starts to frown. He's what? He's frowning. He's frowning. Is it? Oh, you're right. Thank you so much for letting me know. Oh, Stan. Stan! Stan, what's going on? Why are you so sad? Oh, and Stan told me that he was tired of always pretending to be somebody else, of always having to be something that he's not. Oh, but you enjoy it, I said to Stan. And he said that he did it because it made me happy. He didn't feel like he had a choice. Oh, give over. We're friends, I said. And then he pointed out that he thought I always made him into the person that I wanted him to be, rather than let him be the person that he was. Well, we had a few crossed words after that. Artistic differences. And we haven't spoken for a little while, actually. Problem is, I think he was right. Well, every so often, I would go back to my notepad to see if he was there, but he never was. And here I am back at square one. I've got no ideas without Stan, so, well, I'd just eat a chocolate biscuit and be done with it. Well, you would, wouldn't you? But every so often, I wonder if he's come back. I wonder. Should we go and have a look through the pad again? Shall we see if he's there? Now, I'm a bit too shy to look, so perhaps if you see him, you could shout out and tell me. Will you do that? All right, here we go. Is he on this page? No. That's fine, because there's lots of pages. Is he on this page? Oh. Okay, well, that's okay. It's fine. Is he on this page? Oh. Oh, Stan. Oh, I've lost Stan, haven't I? Oh, that was silly of me. Oh, I tell you what. Let's try one more time, shall we? Shall we try one more time? Is he on this page? Oh, he's not, is he? Why am I even asking? Stan's gone. He's what? He's what? There. Stan! Stan! Stan's come back! Oh, Stan! Oh, Stan, I'm so pleased to see you. But Stan, where have you been? And Stan told me that he'd been away working on himself, quite literally. He had written his own story the way that he wanted it to be written. And you see, Stan helped me realise that the only people who can write our stories are us. Because we have the power to live our lives the way we want them to be lived. And our lives are our stories. And this is the story of Stan, the way that he wanted it to be. And this is a plate of chocolate digestives, because I think my story is mostly about biscuits. What would your story be about? Oh, well, I hope you liked that story. Did you enjoy it? I'm actually quite proud of that story because I think it's quite clever. But now for another clever story. And this one is again provided by my lovely friends at Andersen Press. It is called Silly Mr. Wolf, and it is by the wonderful Tony Ross. Enjoy. Mr. Wolf did not always tell the truth. He was tricky. Years ago, he would dress up as a sheep and try to be their worst friend. But when he grew up, the sheep's clothing was far too small for him. So nowadays, if he wanted a nice plump sheep for his dinner, he put a bag over his head so no one would know that he was a wolf. Then he lied about his name. "My name is Mr. Jones," he said to a sheep with dinner written all over him. "Will you walk with me?" Of course, that sheep was never seen again. Very soon the sheep began to understand, and they feared Mr. Jones as well as Mr. Wolf. Mother sheep used to tell their lambs, "Don't go near Mr. Wolf, he is a bad one. That goes for Mr. Jones too. Go near them and you will never be seen again." Of course, the lambs knew that mother sheep are very wise, so they kept well away from Mr. Wolf and Mr. Jones. That being the case, the sheep with their lambs lived happily, and Mr. Wolf lived hungrily. He tried to catch a sheep for dinner, but as soon as they saw the paper bag and the long grey tail, they knew exactly who it was. "Run for your lives," they bleated. "It's Mr. Wolf!" "Or Mr. Jones," cried others. The sheep did run for their lives, and Mr. Wolf went hungry. "This is no good," snarled Mr. Wolf to himself. "I must become someone else, someone they don't know." Mr. Wolf put on a new suit and a bigger paper bag on his head. "Hello, sheep," he smiled. "I am not a wolf. I am Mr. Smith." The sheep smiled back. "Oh, it's good that you are not a wolf, Mr. Smith," they said. "Welcome." Mr. Wolf pounced and stuffed a sheep into his dinner bag. He went hungry no more. When the wisest sheep noticed that they were getting fewer and fewer, he understood what was going on and explained it all to the others. So now the sheep kept well away from Mr. Wolf and Mr. Jones and Mr. Smith. When Mr. Wolf was ready for another sheepy supper, he put on different clothes and a bigger paper bag. "Hello," he purred. "I'm Mr. Thompson. I'm not a wolf." "Oh, that's okay then," smiled the sheep, until Mr. Wolf pounced. The sheep agreed. It was time for a very serious talk. "We must get sticks to drive away Mr. Wolf," said the wisest sheep. "That's the idea," agreed the others, and they picked up large and dangerous sticks. There was, though, one old sheep who disagreed. "Yes, we can whack Mr. Wolf, but what about all the others?" he asked. "What others?" cried the rest of the sheep. "Well, his friends, Mr. Jones and Mr. Smith and Mr. Thompson. There are 4 of them. We cannot drive away 4 wolves." So the sheep dropped their sticks and ran away. Mr. Wolf could not follow them because of the paper bag on his head. He didn't think of taking it off. "Silly," Silly, 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 silly Mr. Wolf. Ooh! Well, isn't that a very silly story? That was Silly Mr. Wolf by Tony Ross and provided courtesy of my good friends at Andersen Press. And now it is time for a Mama G classique. Ooh! This is one of my favourite stories that I've ever written, and I love performing it too, so I hope you enjoy it as well. It is called Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Roar. But before I tell you the story, I need to teach you some actions, and the actions go like this. Twinkle, twinkle, little roar. Let's try that one all together. Twinkle, twinkle, little roar. Very good. How I love you more and more. Let's put those two together, shall we? Twinkle, twinkle, little roar. How I love you more and more. Very nice. Let's carry on. Up above the sky so high, you're the apple of my eye. Let's try that one all together. Up above the sky so high, you're the apple of my eye. Very nice. And then we go back to the beginning. Twinkle, twinkle, little roar. How I love you more and more. Oh, wonderful. Now, who thinks they might be feeling brave enough to try it with some music? Shall we give it a go? Here we go. Twinkle, twinkle, little roar, how I love you more and more. Up above the sky so high, you're the apple of my eye. Twinkle, twinkle, little roar, how I love you more and more. Oh, wonderful. Well, now I think you are ready for the story. So this is Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Roar by... what? Little Roar was a dinosaur, the smallest you could imagine. But he wasn't terribly fearsome, though, which was terribly out of fashion. And he wasn't really called Little Roar. He was really called T-Rex. But rather than bite and tear things apart, he liked to cuddle other T-Rex's necks. And some dinos thought this funny. They thought him really strange. They thought, you can't be cute, you dummy, else the history books must change. But our tiny dino friends thought nothing of it for a while. He'd bounce and skip and jump and hop. Being cute done half make you smile. And Mummy Rex did her best to ensure that Little Roar never found out his nickname was mean. She'd sing him a rhyme every time the truth came close to being seen. And I think you all know how this rhyme goes, except this time, we're dinosaurs. Hands at the ready, here we go. Twinkle, twinkle, little roar, how I love you more and more. Up above the sky so high, you're the apple of my eye. Twinkle, twinkle, little roar, how I love you more and more. But as Little Roar grew up, the name grew with him too. And soon it wasn't just a name. It was who he was to boot. He became quiet, shy, and by the by, the other dinos never saw him. In fact, he became so invisible, you couldn't even say that they ignored him. But Mummy Rex wasn't worried. She knew he was her little star, and she knew that sometimes it takes a little time to work out who you are. Well, years went by and nothing happened. Then one day, just like that, a new T-Rex family moved in next door, and the mum wore outrageous hats. Little Raw swore he had never seen anything so delightful. Mummy Rex wasn't keen. She thought them obscene. In fact, she thought them frightful. But there was no denying these hats were a millinery miracle in action. They'd unleashed something in Little Raw, you could say a millinery passion. He spent hours recreating all the hats his neighbour would have on, and then he'd host a fashion show and invite the other dinosaurs along. Some would come to laugh and point, and some would take the mickey. But some would find that very soon getting in was very tricky. And after a while, well, Little Raw realised he no longer heard the other dinos snigger. Thanks to his neighbour and her funny hats, his Little Raw was getting bigger. And his hats became so popular, he opened a store that bore his name. The hats went flying off the shelves. Little Raw had a claim to fame. Now, the lady dinos loved his hats, but the men were much less keen. Little Raw wore them, of course, but pause. What has he just seen? At the latest fashion show, something amazing has just happened. A boy Rex has walked in wearing a hat. And it's one that Little Raw fashioned. Well, of course they talk and have a chat. And of course the talk is all about hats. They smile and laugh and have a little flirt. Well, why not? Flirting never hurts. And Mummy Rex is watching. Oh, she can't believe what she is seeing, but gosh, it makes her proud. Whoever thought that one day her Little Raw would roar so loud? She sees him there fully formed, finally knowing who he is. He's the star that she had born, but all the burning bright is his. And now the name Little Raw has faded. Oh, it's faded oh so far. Because when you work out who you are, you'll twinkle, twinkle like a star. And I think one more time, just for Little Raw. Here we go. Twinkle, twinkle, little Raw, how I love you more and more. Up above the sky so high, you're the apple of my eye. Twinkle, twinkle, little Raw, how I love you more and more. Oh, isn't that a lovely story? Well, I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you did like it, then you will be very pleased to know that it is available to purchase in my book, More Storytime with Mama G, which is the follow-up to Storytime with Mama G, both available at petitepantos.com. Thank you so much for joining me for another digital story time with Mama G. Don't forget that I would absolutely love to hear from you. I'd love to know what you're thinking of these story times, and you can get in touch by finding me on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for @Mama G Stories. And whilst you are on Facebook, why don't you leave me a review? And I've got a little bit of an incentive for you, darlings, because my gorgeous friend Susie Violet has given me a copy of her brand new book, A Right Royal Road Trip, to share with people who leave a review. So if you would like to leave a review for this story time on my Facebook page, go to the review section, leave a lovely comment, make sure you mention which library service you were watching it from, and you could be in with a chance of getting a copy of this book. Now, I've only got a few copies to give away, so it is first come, first served. So hot foot it into the review section. I would love to hear from you. And also, whilst you're there, you can tell me what makes you happy, so you don't need to listen to my version of this song all the time. But I love it. So, this is my version of If You're Happy and You Know It, because the thing that makes you happiest is the thing that makes you, you. And the thing that makes me happiest is being a pantomime dame and getting to tell you lovely lot stories. So if you know my version of the song, join in. If you don't, you pick up the actions pretty quickly. Here we go. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're tired of wearing hats, then wear a wig. Woo, woo. If you're tired of wearing hats, then wear a wig. Woo, woo. If you're tired of wearing hats, I couldn't help you out with that. If you're tired of wearing hats, then wear a wig. Woo, woo. If sequins are your style, then shimmy and shake. Ooh. If sequins are your style, then shimmy and shake. Ooh. If sequins are your style, and they really make you smile. If sequins are your style, then shimmy and shake. Ooh. If you're good at telling jokes, then have a laugh. If you're good at telling jokes, then have a laugh. If you're good at telling jokes, better than the other folks. If you're good at telling jokes, then have a laugh. If you're feeling fabulous, then shout, I am, I am. If you're feeling fabulous, then shout, I am, I am. If you're feeling fabulous, just like the rest of us. If you're feeling fabulous, then shout, I am, I am. Thank you so much for joining me, you fabulous people. I will see you all next time. Bye. It's story time with Mama G. Come and hear a story with me. Love who you want to be, who you are. Learn these lessons and we'll go far. It's story time. Story time. Story time.